What could possibly push Prince Harry, a man known for his calm public demeanor, to the point of fury? Imagine a man who has faced the scrutiny of the world, survived scandals, tabloid wars, and relentless media attention, suddenly losing control within the walls of his own home. That home, a lavish Montecito estate that had been sold to the public as a sanctuary, a place for peace, privacy, and family healing, was now the epicenter of one of the most explosive private conflicts the royal world has ever witnessed. And the very person at the heart of this storm? Meghan Markle, his wife, his partner, the woman who had once been portrayed as his safe harbor. But now, in a twist nobody could have predicted, Harry was ready to take a step so shocking that it would send ripples across his personal life, the media, and public opinion alike. He demanded that Meghan leave Montecito and return her wedding ring. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. For those watching, this isn't just another royal gossip story. This is a story about love, rage, power, and betrayal. It's about how two people who were once celebrated as modern-day royalty could end up in a situation that feels both intimate and painfully public. The Montecito estate, with its sprawling gardens, private gates, and promise of Californian serenity, had suddenly transformed into a battlefield. The image of Prince Harry, calm in countless public appearances, now storming through the house, issuing ultimatums and facing a personal crisis, is one that nobody outside the inner circle could have imagined. And yet, this is exactly what happened. Now, before we go any further, ask yourself this. Have you ever witnessed a private conflict between two people explode into public spectacle? Have you seen love turn into confrontation so intense it could break the very foundations of a home? That's the kind of tension we're going to unravel in this story. And it's not just about Harry and Meghan. It's about what happens when personal and public worlds collide, and how even the most carefully constructed lives can unravel in moments of unchecked emotion. It all began subtly, almost imperceptibly. To the outside world, Harry and Meghan's life in Montecito looked perfect. They had moved from the frenzy of London to the tranquility of California, seeking peace, security, and a degree of anonymity they could no longer claim in the UK. From the outside, their life appeared flawless, a luxurious mansion, sprawling lawns, privacy, and the promise of a new chapter far from the pressures of royal duty. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. The isolation, the media scrutiny that never truly stopped, and the pressures of maintaining their image began to take a toll. Arguments, once rare and private, were starting to become more frequent, more emotionally charged. And one night, the tension reached a boiling point. Sources close to the couple reveal that this particular night was unlike any other. There had been a series of disagreements in the weeks leading up to it. Small frustrations that normally could be smoothed over, amplified now by long-standing stress and unspoken grievances. Some reports suggest that the disagreement started over something seemingly trivial, a decision about a guest list for an upcoming charity event, a debate over social media posts, or perhaps a disagreement about public appearances. But, as anyone who has been in a relationship knows, it's rarely about the small things. Small disagreements can become flashpoints when underlying frustrations, insecurities, and emotions collide. And for Harry and Meghan, that collision was inevitable. Harry's frustration, insiders say, had been building quietly. Unlike Meghan, who had her own network of friends, advisors, and confidants, Harry felt increasingly trapped between the expectations of the public, the media, and his private life. He was protective of his home, his children, and the image he had worked tirelessly to craft as a father and public figure. And when the argument escalated, it was clear that something had to give. This was not a calm conversation, nor was it a quiet negotiation. According to sources, voices were raised, emotions ran high, and the tension that had been simmering for months finally erupted in full view of those inside the estate. And then came the moment that changed everything. The wedding ring. For anyone who has seen movies or read novels about personal betrayal, the symbolism of this gesture is impossible to ignore. A wedding ring is more than a piece of jewelry. It represents commitment, trust, and the bond between two people. To demand its return is to declare, in the most visible and tangible way possible, that the bond has been broken or at least seriously challenged. And that is exactly what Harry did. The wedding ring, once a symbol of eternal love, was suddenly transformed into a symbol of conflict. Meghan's reaction, sources say, was a mixture of shock, disbelief, and defiance. The moment was so intense that staff and close friends reportedly had to step back, unable to intervene without inflaming the situation further. The Montecito home, designed to be a private sanctuary, suddenly became the setting for a drama that felt almost cinematic. Imagine the tension. Luxury surroundings juxtaposed against a deep personal crisis, the serene Californian gardens outside contrasting with the storm brewing inside. Every door, every hallway, every private space seemed charged with emotion. And as the argument escalated, the presence of media outside, while unaware of the immediate events, loomed like a shadow. Even in the relative safety of California, privacy was under siege, and the stakes were higher than ever. Why does this matter now? Because what happened in Montecito is not just a private matter for Harry and Meghan. It's a story that intersects with public fascination, social media scrutiny, and the ongoing narrative about the couple's life after stepping back from royal duties. Every move they make, every decision, is dissected, analyzed, and debated by millions. And this incident, the eviction, the wedding ring demand, the emotional fallout, provides a rare glimpse behind the carefully curated public personas. It's messy, it's raw, and it's a reminder that even the most famous, most protected individuals are not immune to human conflict. But there's more beneath the surface than just personal drama. Observers note that there may be long-term implications for the couple's public image, media relationships, and even financial arrangements. The fallout from this night is expected to ripple through every aspect of their lives, from social media reactions to media narratives, and possibly even influence future family decisions. And yet, despite the seriousness of the conflict, there is a human element here that resonates with anyone who has faced a confrontation with someone they love deeply. The mix of anger, frustration, fear, and love is universal. And it's amplified to the extreme when the people involved are as public as Harry and Meghan. So, as we prepare to dive deeper into this story, ask yourself, how do people reconcile love and conflict? How can a relationship that appears perfect to the world be fraught with hidden tensions behind closed doors? And what would you do if someone you trusted, loved, and shared your life with suddenly became the source of profound emotional upheaval? These questions aren't just rhetorical. They are the core of what makes this story so gripping. They are the tension that drives every argument, every emotional spike, and every shocking revelation that will follow. By the time dawn broke over Montecito, the situation had escalated to a point where there was no turning back. Harry's decision was made. Meghan's response, immediate and instinctive, would set off a chain of events nobody anticipated. And outside the walls of the mansion, the world remained oblivious, waiting to see the next headline, unaware that the seeds of a monumental story had already been planted. What unfolded over the following hours and days would reshape not only the relationship between Harry and Meghan, but also the narrative the world had about them. No one expected Montecito to become a battlefield. To the outside world, the couple's life in California seemed perfect. A dream escape from the relentless scrutiny of London, the tabloids, the paparazzi, and royal protocol. But as anyone who has lived behind closed doors knows, appearances can be deceptive. On paper, their life looked serene. Sprawling lawns, private gates, a mansion tucked away in one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in the world. Yet, behind the walls of that luxurious estate, cracks were forming. Tiny, almost imperceptible at first, but growing steadily, quietly, like cracks in a porcelain vase before it shatters. It began with small tensions. Harry, who had spent his life balancing public expectation and personal desire, felt the pressures of being a father, a public figure, and now, essentially, the head of a private royal household. Meghan, a woman used to the fast-paced world of Hollywood, struggled to adjust to life under scrutiny while trying to carve her own path. Both were ambitious, both were fiercely independent, and both had egos nurtured in very different worlds. It was only a matter of time before friction arose. The mornings in Montecito started predictably. Harry would take the children for breakfast, a rare period of calm before the day fully unfolded. Meghan would check in with her team, planning projects, social engagements, and carefully curated social media posts. Everything seemed routine, almost idyllic. But insiders say that even these seemingly mundane moments were laced with tension. A glance could carry judgment. A pause could spark annoyance. What the public saw as grace and composure was, in reality, an intricate dance of emotional management. Observers close to the couple noticed subtle signs. The way Harry would sometimes retreat to his study, staring out at the Californian coastline as if trying to escape the walls of the home itself. The way Meghan's laughter sometimes faltered mid-sentence when she realized Harry wasn't fully present. These weren't major incidents. They were nuances, whispers of discontent, hints that all was not well in paradise. And yet, anyone visiting would be struck by the sheer luxury and calm of the estate, a calm that, insiders said, was deceptive. By midday, tension often ebbed slightly. The children played in the expansive gardens. Staff moved quietly through the house, keeping everything running smoothly. Harry and Meghan would convene for lunch, often discussing scheduling, charity events, or the ever-present media coverage. But beneath the surface, friction simmered. The staff could feel it in the air, subtle, yet undeniable. Conversations that should have been easy became fraught. Words were chosen carefully. Every sentence carried an undercurrent of caution. It was in these quiet, calm moments that the emotional landscape of Montecito became most apparent. Harry, a man who had endured public scrutiny for decades, was beginning to feel cornered. He wanted control, privacy, and a sense of normalcy, yet every decision, from guest lists to social appearances, felt like a negotiation. Meghan, too, felt confined, stifled in her own home, frustrated by expectations and limitations that weren't always clear to outsiders. What started as minor irritations began accumulating, quietly but relentlessly. No single event triggered the storm that would soon hit Montecito. Rather, it was a cumulative effect, weeks of minor disagreements, compounded by external pressures, by media speculation, and by the natural stressors of life in a high-profile marriage. The tension was invisible to the casual observer, but palpable to anyone spending time within the estate. Some friends noticed subtle changes in their behavior. A curt tone here, a sharp word there, the way Harry would pace during conversations, or how Meghan would suddenly withdraw from discussions. These were small, almost imperceptible signs, yet they were the warning signals of a conflict that would eventually erupt in full force. Evenings in the estate were meant to be a time of relaxation. The couple would have dinner, often with friends or family nearby, or sometimes in private. But these dinners often carried their own undercurrents. Conversations would circle around past disputes, subtle complaints about schedules, or disagreements about how to handle media coverage. The children were rarely the focus of these moments, though their presence added an extra layer of emotional complexity. Harry's protectiveness over them, his desire to shield them from the outside world, sometimes clashed with Meghan's independent streak and her desire to establish a life that felt authentic, even in the public eye. Insiders report that by late evening, the air in Montecito often felt electric. Small disagreements from the day would resurface, amplified by fatigue and emotional stress. Staff would quietly step aside, sensing that an argument could ignite at any moment. Guests sometimes noticed the tension but dismissed it as minor marital spats. Yet, those closest to the couple knew better. This was a marriage under pressure, a household where calm was temporary and fragility was constant. What made the situation even more complex was the media's omnipresence. Even in California, privacy was never absolute. Paparazzi would monitor the estate, social media commentators dissected every movement, and rumors spread quickly. For Harry, the constant awareness of public scrutiny added a layer of pressure that few could comprehend. Every decision he made, every expression he wore, was filtered through the lens of public perception. Meghan, on the other hand, navigated this world differently. She was savvy, calculated, and determined to maintain her image, but she, too, felt the weight of expectations, both internal and external. And so, the calm before the storm was not peaceful at all. It was a delicate balancing act, a household where emotions were tightly controlled, and yet everyone knew that tension was rising. The luxury and beauty of Montecito, with its manicured lawns, serene views, and exclusive privacy, masked a growing emotional pressure cooker. Every conversation, every glance, every silence carried weight. And as night fell over the estate, the inevitability of a confrontation loomed larger with each passing hour. By the time the first hints of a storm emerged, the household was already divided in subtle ways. Staff whispered among themselves, friends noted changes in mood, and even casual observers sensed that something was brewing. It was a tension that had been accumulating for weeks, months even, yet no one could predict exactly when or how it would erupt. Harry's protective instincts and Meghan's assertive personality created a combustible mix, and Montecito, meant to be a sanctuary, was now the stage for a personal conflict of unprecedented intensity. And then, as evening turned into night, the first spark ignited. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable to an outsider. Perhaps a raised voice, a sharp remark, a lingering glance that carried more meaning than intended. But in the quiet, luxurious mansion, it was enough. Enough to set the stage for a confrontation that would alter the course of their lives, redefine public perception, and lead to one of the most shocking moments in modern royal history. The calm had ended. The storm was coming. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming.